Here's what's left of my Sega Saturn collection. My parents purchased a Saturn for me back in 1995 near launch. I received a bug as a birthday gift back in 1996. I was desperate to play a platformer on my Saturn, so I chose this game because it looked charming in the magazine reviews. It got some decent scores. Some people refer to the game as 2.5D because you can move in 4 directions. The environments still give a feeling of 3D, and I like how the environments provide a sense of scale, as the insects and the plants, the grass, are very big compared to your character Bug. I found the game charming and fun, but it was a bit frustrating because it was hard to judge some of the platform jumps and the lack of save feature, plus the game is notorious for being a bit difficult, and the long levels with puzzles meant the game would make you go back to the beginning and was frustrating. And on top of this, some of the boss battles are quite challenging. But the game does have a level select cheat, and using the level select, I finished the game. Call it cheating if you want, but the Japanese version of this game saves at the end of each level, and the Japanese version of this game also gives you unlimited continues. So basically, I would have beaten the game if I played the Japanese game anyways, because using the level select I managed to beat all the levels. But in all seriousness, the game is charming, it's colourful, and it's fun. It's just a bit frustrating sometimes. You can be hit by enemies that are off the edge of the screen. And like I said, sometimes it's hard to judge the distance with platform jumps and the difficulty. I haven't played its sequel named Bug 2, but the Western version of Bug 2 does have a save feature, and there's debate as to whether its level designs are better. I've heard its controls are better. I haven't played Bug 2. But anyways, I enjoyed the original Bug, so I have it at number 10. Forgot to mention the game has a good variety of environments, such as grassy, swampy, underwater, snow, and desert, and volcanic lava as well. A 2D platformer that makes use of the Saturn's design as a 2D powerhouse. The game has stunning hand-drawn style visuals. Up close, Astal looks like Yu-Gi-Oh! Besides platforming, there's combat that includes pounding enemies with your fists. You can blow enemies to defeat them, and also pick up objects and throw them at enemies. The game has a high level of difficulty, but just like the previous game Bug, the Japanese version is easier, because in the Japanese version, Astal can take more hits, and you have unlimited continues in the Japanese version. So I don't know why Saturn platformers were being made, the Western version of Saturn platformers were being made to be much more difficult, especially since platformers are meant to appeal to children as well as adults. The game is very long. You can beat it in under an hour if you're good at it, so maybe the Western version was made to be harder to increase the life of the game, but look at the visuals. The game doesn't need to be challenging to make you want to keep playing it. There's not much else to say about this game. It was released in 1995. but it didn't come to PAL region. So once again, PAL region gamers got screwed over, and I didn't get to play this game until only a few years ago on an emulator. Burning Rangers was released in 1998 and was developed by Sonic Team, so the influence of Sonic is there. If you have at least one crystal, you cannot be killed by fire or enemies. It plays like a fast-paced action platformer where you need to rescue civilians in buildings, and what I like about the game, it has a sense of urgency, as the longer you take, the building will have more explosions and it becomes harder to survive.
I'm here to save you.
There's also enemies such as robots and boss battles. You have a jetpack, which adds extra depth to the platforming. This game showed the Saturn was capable of doing great looking 3D games.
Here's the first one.
This game was developed by Sega themselves, so the developer had more time and resources, and when it was released, it was one of the best looking games at the time. The game was recognised for having realistic fire effects. Of course, you can put out fires using water as well. The reason I haven't ranked this game higher is because it has only 4 levels. The game can be beaten in under 5 hours, even if you're not speedrunning. I like how instead of using a map, there's a navigator telling you where to go to make it more thrilling. It makes it feel like you really are lost in a building,
I'm here to
trying
save
to
you,
rescue
okay?
people. Or you're a futuristic firefighter. The gameplay is very exciting, and it's one of the best games on the Saturn.
Don't try to talk. We'll get you out of here.
I also love how this game is unique. The Saturn was known as a system for creative games. Fighters Mega Mix is a 3D fighting game that has characters from Virtua Fighter, Fighting Vipers, Virtua Cop, and even you can use the cars from Daytona as fighting characters, and characters from some of the Sonic fighting games. The fighting mechanics let you choose between Virtua Fighter style or Fighting Vipers style. By that I mean you can have a more open area and technical fighting like in Virtua Fighter, or you can have caged matches where the characters have an armor system and you can break through armor to do more damage to certain areas of their body. The game has a large roster of diverse characters and you can experiment a lot. The game is just plain fun. It's a crossover. I remember how excited I get when I first saw X-Men vs Street Fighter. Virtua Fighter 2 was seen by many people as the best 3D fighting game when it was first released. Even after Tekken 2 was released after it, many people, including myself, still found Virtua Fighter 2 better. I also prefer Virtua Fighter 2 more than Fighters Mega Mix. I just prefer Virtua Fighter's more authentic style. Virtua Fighter 2 has very deep technical gameplay using realistic fighting styles and more realistic physics. The fighting feels heavy but real, so there's no crazy high jumps or over-the-top stuff. It's real-world fighting. When it was released, the graphics were beautiful and clean-looking. The stages and environments looked great. The music was exciting. I liked how the announcer sounded exciting. It was easy enough to pick up and play, but would take years to master. The Saturn version lets you customize things, so you can turn down the difficulty until you get used to it, or you can change the ring size. There's so much intricate depth to the fighting, even on the default difficulty. If you're not careful, the CPU will take you down very quickly, so you have to think about defense, and there's only 3 buttons: punch, kick and block. But like I said, it's very technical. You can just block an opponent's attacks and then immediately counter them when they are vulnerable. But being too defensive means you could get picked up and grappled. As you expect, some fighters are faster, some characters are bigger, slower, but stronger, especially the wrestling characters. Some characters have a bit more of a balance of everything, and then there's character Akira, which he has very powerful special moves, but his fighting technique takes a while to learn and master. He's dangerous when you learn how to use him properly. I like how the stages represent nice cultural themes around the world. In my opinion, Virtua Fighter 2 remains the best 3D fighting game during the 5th gen until Tekken 3 was released. Dragon Force is an RPG that mixes real-time and tactical gameplay. You can choose one of 8 rulers that have their own story, and basically you are in control of an army. You begin with 5 generals, and your generals can command up to 100 soldiers. The aim of the game is to go around the world map and conquer castles. The enemy nations will try to do the same to you. They'll send their armies at you as well. You actually don't give many orders during battle. You can just tell your units to attack or retreat, as well as some other basic commands. But you can level up your army by level grinding, and you can make your army bigger by capturing castles and gaining more generals. When you win a battle, you can convince other generals to join you. So the more generals you have, the bigger your army will be, and different generals will have allow for different classes, which means different types of units. For a twist, generals can desert your army if they are unhappy. So there's segments where you have meetings and you have to give your generals a reward and make them feel happy and appreciated. So there's a lot going on. It's a very complex game, but it's very addictive, and it was a very unique game for its time. It was actually partially developed by Sega. It's another gem that didn't get a PAL release. See, I still love playing X-Men vs Street Fighter on my data frog even today. Simple way to explain it is I loved this game so much at the arcade, and I was disappointed when I got the PlayStation version first, and my friend, whom is a Street Fighter aficionado, told me the Saturn version of X-Men vs Street Fighter has the tag team feature, whereas the PlayStation version doesn't, but the Saturn version was only released in Japan. Anyways, I knew a family-owned game store that sold imported games, and they had the Saturn version of this game, and they sold a converter so I could play it. And not only does the Saturn version have the tag team, it looks better than the PlayStation version as well, of course, since 2D fighting games is one of the Saturn specialties. You need the tag team in this game because it adds an extra element of strategy as well as fun, because when one of your characters is tagged out, their health will regenerate, so you should think carefully how long to keep a character out there, because certain characters match up well against other characters, but as I said, you want to give your character a chance to heal as well. Love many things about this game, the way it incorporates both the abilities of the X-Men and Street Fighter characters. You have Ryu and Cyclops will often be paired together when you fight against the CPU. They are a specialist with projectile attacks. Then you have Zangief and Juggernaut, who are giant foes. Juggernaut is a Goliath, and Zangief with his big frame. And you have the evil duo of Magneto and Bison pairing up as well. But when you choose your pair of characters, you're free to choose whichever pair you want. At the time, the Saturn had the best home version of a fighting game that everyone wanted to play. At number 3, I have Street Fighter Alpha 2. Street Fighter Alpha 2 is my favourite fighting game of all time. People say Street Fighter Alpha 3 is more technical and Street Fighter 3 Third Strike is better, but the fighting mechanics for Street Fighter Alpha 2 just gel well for me. I love the stage designs and the music, the overall presentation, I just like it the most. As for the Saturn version, it is better than the PlayStation version, and the reason the Saturn version is my favourite version is it allows you to select Shinakuma. Now, even though the PlayStation and SNES version also allow you to select Shinakuma, the Saturn version is obviously better than those two versions, and there's not much more I can add really without making this a review for the game. It's just my favourite fighting game ever, and Shinakuma is actually a secret boss and he's brutal, but you can select him yourself and use the double air fireball to keep opponents pinned down. Even now, the visual style is colourful and the gameplay, it's just so fun and satisfying. It's technical, but it just controls well and just has the right amount of difficulty for me. Just like X-Men vs Street Fighter, I still play this game even now on my Datafrog. I was a big fan of Shining Force 2 on the Mega Drive, so it was only natural I was going to love this game. I love turn-based strategy, and just like its predecessors, Shining Force 3 has a very in-depth turn-based strategy system, but at the same time it's very accessible. I guess you could say it's forgiving in that there's no permadeath and you still retain experience points that you earned during a battle that you lost. Instead of random battles, there's many scripted battles in the game which I prefer, so there's something unique about each battle. You can still level grind by replaying battles. The game is colourful, although it didn't look the best for a game released in 1998. You can still explore a world map and look for hidden characters to recruit, and just like in other JRPGs, you can explore towns. The difference is with this game, the turn-based battle system is more in-depth. I actually bought a copy of this game back in 1998, and I'm kicking myself because when we moved houses many times when we were young, I lost my copy. But anyways, I appreciate this game because even though people say Final Fantasy Tactics is a superior turn-based strategy game, Final Fantasy Tactics didn't get released for PAL region for PlayStation, whereas Shining Force 3 did. So I had a great turn-based strategy game to play in Shining Force 3. If there is one way I can describe Panzer Dragoon Saga, it is hauntingly beautiful. The game was like a Nier or a Drakengard game for its time. It has a world that is morbid and it's got a post-apocalyptic setting. I won't spoil the story for people who are yet to play it, but you really need to play this game. It has a lot of lore, its story has twists, and it's presented so well. This game is another example of the Saturn being able to do 3D. Some people said Burning Ranges doesn't have open environments, but this game has a 3D world map and it's beautiful. The combat system keeps the feel of the previous Panzer Dragoon games, with some real-time elements where you can fly up close to enemies and target them, but there's turn-based strategy elements as well. You need to take positioning into account during combat, and the positioning's done in real time. Yes, I'm aware how expensive this game is on eBay, and I'm also kicking myself because I saw this game for sale in a game store in 1998 for only 80 Australian dollars, and we all know how expensive it is now. So I had to play it on an emulator when Saturn emulation was workable, and I discovered what an amazing game that many people had missed out on. You really need to explore the game's world. It's full of mystery, and part of the story experience is flying around the world and discovering about the world's past, which is set thousands of years after a cataclysmic event. The characters are great, and it's not a simple they are good or evil type thing. This isn't, in my opinion, just the best Saturn game. It's one of the best RPGs of the 5th gen. I think it's right up there with the likes of Final Fantasy VII, Xenogears, and Legend of Dragoon as one of the best RPGs of the 5th gen. I think it's a top 5 candidate for RPGs of the 5th gen. It's not a long game, but I like how the story doesn't try to pad itself out too much. It doesn't try too hard to be something it's not. It's a lot of the story is open to interpretation, and it's just a very deep and thoughtful experience. Nights into Dreams has a beautiful world that is relaxing to fly around. Sega Rally was one of the best arcade races of the 5th gen. The Saturn version of SimCity 2000 looks better than the PlayStation version, and when your city reaches a milestone, it lets you put a Sonic statue. I hope you enjoyed my video and you saw the Saturn does have great 3D games and some creative games and some of the best games of the 5th gen. Take care.